Hey guys, this is Coach KP, and today I'm going to talk to you about energetic exchange that happens in a relationship, especially as the relationship deepens into a sexual relationship, and how to release and give back some of the energy that we take on and our partners take on from us as we progress in that relationship, and how to release that so that we can get out of some of the patterns that have not worked in our relationships in the past, some of what we have taken on from our partner, especially if it was a dysfunctional relationship with a person that wasn't really good for your soul. Okay, living in a fast-paced world where there's so many apps out there that we can use to connect with another person. It becomes very essential to understand energetically what's happening every time we connect with someone at that level. Okay, this is not necessarily to reprimand uses of apps or doing what you want with your body, but it's a little bit of a educational video on being discriminatory with your mate choice. Sometimes our discriminatory faculty in the mind gets overpowered by our desire to connect with someone. Okay, this happens to pretty much all of us, and this is when we need to understand that every time we connect with someone at any level, especially in a romantic relationship, we are giving them a part of our essence. Okay, and they are also giving us a part of their essence. So in a romantic exchange, it's not just our physical bodies that are engaging in the act, okay, in the sexual act, or even when you kiss someone. What we are doing is we're giving away a part of our energy to them, and we are accumulating some of what they are giving into ourselves. And that's the reason many people that are energetically sensitive will not sleep with whoever they can sleep with at that given moment. One of the masters that I follow regularly who talks about energetic exchange, this person didn't sleep with their wife for 2 years before he really got to know her at that level. Okay, maybe that's a little bit extreme for a lot of people, but that's the type of commitment you want in yourself when you go into a relationship. When you are, especially if this relationship is going to be a sexual relationship, you want to be really careful about who you are inheriting energy from. Are they a mentally, spiritually, physically in a good space? Are you in a good space before that exchange, so that you are not giving to someone what you would not be happy receiving? Okay, a lot of the sexual diseases that happen during this exchange is because you or your partner is in such a bad state, whether it's through repression, whether they feel a lot of guilt, or whether we are feeling a lot of sexual guilt before going into that relationship. If it's not done from a heart center perspective, where we are there to give our best to our partner and receive the best from our partner, it becomes a tricky situation. And how this manifests in our subsequent relationships is even more interesting, because when we take on, let's say, we have this tendency of finding multiple partners, haven't been very discriminatory in our choice there, and we spend time with multiple sexual partners. What ends up happening is all of that energy, especially if these partners aren't in a good space. And in today's world, it's so easy for people to find sex as an outlet of all of the emotional baggage that they have. Like, people feel that that's like an outlet for them. If you're feeling depressed, sad, anxious, people turn to, alcohol, sex, or some of these things that aren't necessarily good for you, when you actually should be engaging in practices that's going to help you release whatever you're going through emotionally in a healthy way. Okay. So when we have accumulated so much energy from other people, now we get to a point where we become desensitized to other relationships going forward. Okay. And there is a lot of pressure for people to get into sexual, physical relationship because, your magazines are telling women that men are looking for sex by the third date, and your dating coaches are telling men that, if you don't try to become sexual right from the get-go, they're not going to be interested, or all of these things are happening, and maybe some of that has truth to it, but are you going to listen to the advice that is given so freely by people that aren't energetically sensitive and have no idea what they have manifested in their lives? So much unhappiness, sadness, and depression is going on in this world today, and no one really knows our food is shit, right? The food that we eat isn't healthy if we are not discriminate about it. The air we breathe is polluted, and the sex that we are having is not coming from a heart center where we are not necessarily looking out for the best interest of our partner and ourselves. Like when we are listening to these tactical advices from all of our dating gurus, it's problematic. It's going to be putting us in a situation where we will do what they are asking us to do, and we will end up overdoing it because there's nothing for us to be checked against. Okay, because sexual energy, sexual exchange, they kind of sort of start to become an addiction for people, an outlet. Okay, and I'm not saying that everyone that has multiple partners is a bad person. Like, that's not what I'm saying. It's not a judgment. It's just a caution against being so indiscriminate with our relationships that we are accepting anyone that basically walks as our partner. Okay. So really something to focus on, especially if our current relationships aren't working well. If the same patterns are showing up in our lives over and over and over again, chances are we have accumulated all of this energy through our previous sexual, romantic relationships that it's kind of become a barrier energetically, and it needs to be released. That brings me to the energetic release technique that I was going to talk to you about. And it's a very simple technique, but you have to be absolutely radically honest with yourself when you're doing this. And, you will need to find a quiet space so that you can understand exactly what happened, in your past relationships, and try your best to, remember all of your sexual partners and people that you've had contact with in the past. And this is not an exercise to feel guilty about what has happened in the past. Okay. What has happened, and all of us have made some wrong choices, some right choices. It's not a guilt trip. Okay. I just want to be sure that, Coach KP is not asking you to feel guilty about your, past sexual choices. So what we will do in this exercise is we will sit down with ourselves and bring a pen and a notepad, and we will write down to our earliest memory all of our sexual partners' names. Okay? And if there is anything that was good or particularly good or bad that stands out, we will try to recall and write what it is that maybe had happened that was standing out in that particular relationship. So after you have your your list of people that you had romantic or sexual exchange with. You would then go from the start of your list, possibly in a chronological order. That would be the best, and you will ask them to release your energy, and you will release the energy for their highest good. Okay, so very simple exercise. You go somewhere where you can be quiet, and you write down the names and the type and the attribute of that relationship. If it was a good relationship, write down the name of the person, good relationship. If it was a terrible relationship, anything in particular, write down the name, terrible relationship. And as you are writing this is an honest exercise where we're not looking to and a lot of emotions may surface as you're doing this writing, because it'll trigger some flashbacks and things of that nature. But the idea here is to be kind to that other person, no matter how terrible that relationship has been, or no matter how bad we think that person was to us in this relationship, because that again is a hook from the past. When we start thinking of our past relationships in that with resentment, that's a hook for them to pull us in the past, and that in and of itself is pulling the energy from this present moment. Okay, so let's get a pen and a paper handy, write down their names and the attribute of the relationship, and sincerely ask them to release our energy, and we will release the energy from our end also. And we don't need to be particularly energy sensitive to do this work. Just set the intention that we are going to do this, okay? And at the end of it all, what we will do is we will fold a piece of paper and either bury it on in the ground or burn it, okay, with the intention to release the energy into the universe. So we will do this. We may have to do this a few times, maybe few weekends. We set some time to release this energy, and just realize what that has done to us as we release this energy into the universe and ask for our energy back. This is a type of a soul retrieval that everyone should do, especially if you've had a history of being in a really bad relationship, or if you have history of not finding the right type of relationship for you. Chances are there is some energetic blockages that are happening to you that's not allowing you to move forward. Okay, and be self-compassionate. There is no need to beat yourself up for past choices, because God knows every one of us have made wrong choices in the past, and those are teachers. Okay, those choices have been teaching us in our journey, and it's really something to reflect upon, but not beat yourself up upon. That I want to be very clear about that, because certain people feel really badly because of societal conditioning, that you shouldn't have sex. Like, sex is seen as such a taboo still in many cultures, that it may trigger really negative self-image because of that. But it's not an exercise to beat yourself up. It's an exercise to learn and grow from past relationships, release that energy, and be more of who you are, so that you can bring in 100% of who you are at the core in your new relationships. Okay, so I hope you get to do this, and if you've done similar exercises, please comment on the comment section. This is Coach KP. Peace.